Hi, welcome back to my channel. And I have posted Cassandra database part 1 video. Today we are going to talk about the real hands-on session. And before we go into the real hands-on session, I would like to cover a couple of concepts. So, so the concepts are gossip and snitch, which I did not explain. The remaining concepts which I have already covered. So gossip is basically a configuration file, which is configured from the admin standpoint of view, which node, which rack, which data center, and what is the name of the data center, and what IP address Cassandra is being used, what service port, all those things will be defined by administrator. And gossip is basically a protocol which uses all this information and then handy. This information will be using by another component service, that is a SNIS service, which essentially uses from the gossip and protocol. And this SNIS service basically uses certain default service for doing the replication strategies between node to node or node to data center, whatever you can think of in terms of the cluster. We have seen that this is a cluster, right? So here you can see that this is a data center one, this is a data center two, one rack, two rack from each data center. How these all things will be aware. So whenever you add a new node to the Cassandra cluster, the admin will include the gossips protocol. These are the nodes which is available in this data center. That information will be read by the snitch, and then it starts replicating according to the software designed as a product. Okay, so those are the the concepts which I would like to cover. So I did not cover that time. So I missed those two concepts, gossip and snitch. So that I am covering. So before I go into the hands-on session, so make sure that you wanted to test this application. There should be a Cassandra up and running and keyspace created and table is created because it essentially exports the data. So I am writing here the client is string data Cassandra. If you want to use the other libraries from the Cassandra, yes, you can use the cluster related libraries. You can you can build an application. So now let's jump into the real hands-on session and we'll see. So what I'm saying is I'm going to start a virtual machine as a headless. So where I'm going to run the Cassandra database. So let me minimize this and I'll open the POT session. So meantime, let it load the operating system. So so I have written Cassandra README file. You can go through it. So you need to use Eclipse or IntelliJ Workbench and then check out your code, which is available here, and which is also available in the Git repository. So use the Docker steps from this particular file, and then you build the Docker service for the Cassandra. And to install VirtualBox and how to pull the image, all the instructions given one of the video section is try to visit, and also provided a ready-made Linux image for you folks. You can definitely use it. And then let me try to open the photo session whether yeah my Linux is ready. I'm using here a different Linux. So if you want to use the Linux image which I have given, that is Rocky Linux, which you can use. So changing the font size to 18 so that it will be easily. So let me clear this. So as I was telling, these are the REST endpoints where you can test it. Okay, and and these are the instructions given in this file. So let's read it. So here, if I open this file, I can see that Docker Cassandra and the DataStax, how to create a key space, blah blah blah, all these things. So what I'm doing is taking this instruction set. I'm going to the Linux. The same thing you can perform by following the Linux OS installation. Here, this is basically downloading the Cassandra version, and it is going to start the engine. Meantime, let us try to understand our code base. So here I'm establishing a configuration class object, and I'm specifying where are all my table entities are available. So entity scan object, I'm specifying a base package. I'll go to the base package. Before that, I want to describe this class. So here I'm specifying that Cassandra is a local host and 9042 is the default port, and this is the name of the key space. This is my name of the data center. And here I'm establishing a Cassandra SQL session by following certain coding facility provided by the DataStax. And then here I'm specifying a Cassandra template. These two beans are essentially required to establish a repository-based connection with Cassandra service. And I'm building a JPA kind of a base repository. Here we use it as Cassandra repository. So I'm enabling which package it holds. And let's go ahead and see now the model. Now I have a table. The table name is customer, and I'm defining a Java 14 customer object. This is an identifier, string ID, and customer name and address. And I have another just a simple POJO service. And here I have a customer repository inheriting a CRUD repository. Here I am writing one of the method which is going to calculate the specific customer name based aggregation. So this is essentially required to follow the filter. And this is a customer service. So this is a customer service object which is used the repository bean as a component, auto-varied component, I mean to say. And it is making use of the queries according to which is supporting the default functions as well as the function which I have written. So these are the things you can see it, and I have a REST endpoint. This REST endpoint will be doing deleting a customer by ID, updating a customer by ID name, and getting the customer by ID, getting the customer full details, and adding a customer. Uh, okay, so these details will be captured based on the REST endpoint which we have in the readme.py. Okay, so this is my Spring Boot application. During the startup time, I'm storing some default data, which is essentially being used from the Cassandra standpoint. Okay, so you can definitely go through this, and this is the Spring's default profile, which is being used. So now these are the instruction set. Please follow it. If you want to set it up in your local, like my machine, yes, you can do it. Now this is ready. Docker has been pulled, and this Cassandra service also is available. Now let me open this file, and I log in into the, the Docker container session. That is what it is. The name which I have indicated. Now switch to a different path where the Cassandra was installed. So here I can see list of commands. Okay, these are available. Let me clear it. So I am interested SQL shell. So conceptually, I have spoken that SQL shell is used to create key spaces and tables and all, right? So you can see this SQL shell version and Cassandra version, SQL specification, like SQL like of a specification, they are following this version and it. So here what I am going to do is I am creating a key space. So the key space name is my underscore KS with replication class simple strategy. and here I'm having only single node. Because of that reason I'm having replication 1. So I'm going to create a key space, that is I use my underscore key space where I wanted to create the tables. So I use key space. So you need to understand the syntaxes. Here I'm defining a table. The table name is customer in this key space. It has ID attribute, it has customer name attribute, address attribute, and primary key here I'm setting ID cluster cluster name. Okay, customer name. Sorry about the wording conventions. So and also in the concept I have defined that primary key and cluster key, right? So here I have three attributes, right? ID, customer name, address. So here I am specified as a primary key. I did not stop until that. So what I'm doing is I'm specifying that with clustering order by customer name. So this clustering order by which field name I'm specifying, this is called as a cluster key. This is a primary key or a partition key. So this is basically a compound key. So these two attributes makes a unique entry into the data store and having the records. So we can see that. And let me create a table under my cookie space ready and describe tables. I'm describing what are the tables. Yes, my customer table is ready. So now what I can do, I can go to the service, that is the microservice. I'm starting this application, and essentially it is going to integrate with the Cassandra and ensure that, as I said, you need to follow certain basic ground rules from the Linux video and how to do port forwarding, all those things. So here Cassandra is running. So so this application successfully started. Okay, so you can see that started and bulk save. So let me see what is bulk save. So here is the log. That means Cassandra has been stored with the default. Select top from customer. I specify. So that means the default data which I have stored into the Cassandra. Now let me go ahead and start testing from readme file. So here I'm parking right now the postman operation related. So let me go ahead and take this URL. So now that URL has been hit. Okay, so now I can see that the data is available for one customer. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to update for the same identity. So now I can go here, I can query it. Now I can see for the same 28 customer, there are two records, right? You can see here two records because this is the default record which I have handled. Now I have updated because I'm making a compound key based on the two attributes. One is the partition key, other one is the cluster key. Cluster key is the customer name, partition key is the ID. So that's the reason you see two records. If you want to see like this, you can definitely do it based on the direct ID. So two records I have. So now if I go ahead and hit the word, still I see because I'm using the CRUD repository API, find only one customer. So that's the reason I cannot see for the same partition key two records. Let me go ahead and use the other API which can get which can get both the data. So now this is retrieving the updated data as well as the old data. So you need to understand the compound key so that it will be easy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that record. So I'm deleting that record. So It is saying that record has been deleted. Let me go ahead and look up. Yes, the record is deleted. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to use a postman to post the content. So I'm starting a postman because I have tested getting single partition customer, the same customer with the compound key data. Yes, I retrieved and I have updated, I have deleted. I can do aggregation. Say for the Narayana aggregation name, I got a lot of data. So that means 10 records I got it. So I can specify that customer name equal to Narayana. So initial load has 10 records. Now it will say that you cannot use directly because you don't have a partition key, so that it takes a lot of time to scan it. So that's the reason they say allow filtering syntax, you can get it. So 10 records, you can see it during the startup time which I have stored. That's how this count has been retrieved. So the count query been added. So now my customer add customer is available. Now I'm going to see just content type and body. I cannot see any data. Okay, so now I have pasted it. Okay, data has been there. So now I'm going to send it whether this customer is being added. So it is saying that it is added, but I am not sure whether this customer is there or not. So customer ID is, so that means customer has been added. So likewise, you can able to test all the Cassandra features, creating more cluster keys, more partition keys, and the user-defined tables, materialized views, and so forth. So this is how you can locally host it. I have given you more flexibility of doing these things. Try to install the virtual box, then use that virtual box, download the Linux image and import and follow the instructions, and then start your image. After starting, then you can use the Docker commands and you can pull the image and test it. So that's all about this testing of the application, and you understood now each package represents a unique uh, concept, what is the use of this object and why it is being used. Likewise, you can build a real-time application. This is mostly real-time, but you won't have many tables. That's the only key difference between these two, but you have a real uh, hands-on development code in your hand, which you can download from my Git repository. Thank you for watching the real-time hands-on session, and like it, share it, subscribe it. I come up with a new video. Thank you.